Hi, I'd like to introduce this paper by my PhD student, March Thanaporn. March has actually been working super hard on this project and for years, and we have some really impressive results to share today. The big idea is that you might already know Assistance was exposed to a big randomized control trial in Maine, where kids doing their math homework on whatever their textbook was only were told whether their answer was right or wrong. They basically had a button saying, show me the answer. March shows in this paper that we can crowdsource from a bunch of teachers explanations that when given out will reliably cause student learning to go above and beyond the learning that we already demonstrated that Assistance generates. So I'm super excited about this. March's work also sets the stage for us to crowdsource more than just hints and explanations. We also want to crowdsource feedback messages to comment on answers. We want to crowdsource the questions that kids ask for given problems and the answers that teachers give to those commonly asked questions. Anyways, we have a bigger vision, but let me let March get to telling you the real details. I'll be back at the end.
Thank you, Neil, for the introduction. I am March Thanaporn, and today I'm presenting my work inside assessment called the effectiveness of crowdsourcing on-demand assistance from teachers in online learning platforms. So what do I mean by on-demand assistance? In this work, I use the term on-demand assistance to generally cover the type of assistance help that is available on demand to students as they work on their homework or assignments. Inside assessment, we have multiple types of help available, but in this work, we only care about two types in particular for now, which are what we call hint set that you can see on the left. The hint set contains multiple hints, and each hint contains helpful messages or instructions or information that will help the student solve their general problem. And in the middle one, you can see is an explanation. An explanation contains the step on how to solve the problem from the first step to the last step, including the answer itself. So it's a full solution to that particular problem. On the right-hand side, you can see another type of another example of an explanation. But instead of writing it out, the teacher, in this case, Miss Jones, created a video of herself solving the problem. So instead of just plain text or color text, formatted text, it's multimedia, in this case a video explanation. So the main motivation of this work comes from the efficacy trial of assessment that was conducted in the state of Maine a few years ago. And one teacher in particular are very interesting to us, which is Mr. TeacherASSIST. Mr. TeacherASSIST created hint messages for most of the problems he assigned to his students. And inside assessment, we do allow teachers to create their own contents, their own problems, and share them with their fellow teachers. We also provide a library of problems, for example, a skill builder and problems from open educational resources such as Engage New York. But in order to prevent teachers from accidentally modifying or contaminating the central problem sets or the problem set that were created by their fellow teachers, we make sure that only the creator or the owner of the problem can modify the problem. That includes adding hint messages. So what Mr. TeacherASSIST did is he made a copy of the problems that are in the textbook he is using, and then manually adding hint messages to all of the problems in his own copies, which means that those hint messages are available only to his students and no one else, because no one is using his copies of the problems. After seeing Mr. TeacherASSIST, we asked ourselves two questions. First, how can we better facilitate for diligent teachers such as Mr. TeacherASSIST who want to create hint messages for their students? And the second question is, Mr. TeacherASSIST and similar teachers spend a lot of time and effort creating content hint messages for their students. but it's only available for their students. So we're wondering if would it be a good idea if we were to share those hint messages to students, not only their own students, but also students from other classes who are using the same curriculum and textbook. So why are we even thinking about crowdsourcing hint messages? Well, on-demand sensitive hint messages or worked example scaffolding has been shown to be to improve student learning. However, only about 1/3 of the problem inside assessment have on-demand and hint message anything at all, and most of the open educational resources don't have on-demand assistance. Partially because, well, the original are PDFs and they couldn't add that kind of instruction in the original media. And during hard times such as in the pandemic, that forces a lot of classroom to be online. These on-demand assistance could be the key supplement to help the student learn in online environment, and especially when the teachers are not readily available like in traditional classrooms. However, there are also several research that suggests that assessment, if not properly created, could be detrimental to student learning. And one of the biggest example in this for our case, for crowdsourcing case, is that teacher may refer to resources they personally provide in the classroom to their students. For example, they could see they might add a message like, "Hey, remember for this problem you can use number 2 in the cheat sheet I just gave you in class." That kind of messages won't be able to generalize to other classroom, other teachers, since the resources that were referred to are not available to anyone else. After we think through all that, we've formulated into 3 research questions. First, how can we design and implement crowdsourcing system that will allow teachers, like Mr. Kurtzich, to quickly and conveniently create on-demand lessons for their students? Second, how effective is such crowdsourcing system? Would they be helpful, or would they fall under one of the improperly created assistance that doesn't help students? Third question is, could we want to do good science, and we want to make sure that the result we found, if we found anything at all, can be reproduced if we were to run the same experiment in a different academic term. And to answer the 2 questions, we designed and implement the crowdsourcing system called TeacherASSIST inside the assessment platforms. So when we design TeacherASSIST, we have 2 major design questions. The first question is, how can we incentivize teachers to create hint messages, explanation, anything at all? And the reason is, well, even the successful crowdsourcing systems such as Wikipedia and Stack Overflow have the issue of they don't have enough contributors. They have a lot of consumers, but not enough contributors. So we have to make sure that the teacher want to create them, want to create hint messages. The second question is, even within the same curriculum, there are thousands of problems. Even within the same topic in the same curriculum, there could be hundreds of problems. How can we make sure that the teachers are not overwhelmed by the choices? If they come to the curriculum and they see 100 problems, they come to the topic they are teaching and they see 100 problems, they won't be able to pick what they want to create, right? So we want to make sure that teachers are not overwhelmed. So what we did is we have an informal interview with several teachers, and we found that a lot of teachers are using this simple interface inside assessment that will allow teachers to pick and choose what problems they want to assign us next. So this is a prompt set browser. And as you can see, there are checkboxes that teachers can pick which problem they are going to assign as assigned to their students. So what we did is we add a little link that when they click, it will show another simple interface that will allow teachers to add hint messages or explanation to their students. This addition actually answer this simple addition answer the two questions. First, teacher intensifies to create hint and explanation because it is directly available. It will be promptly available to their students in the next assignment. The teacher created them and then assigned to the student directly. So teacher know right away that this is what the student will get. And then the teachers are also not overwhelmed by the choices because they only see the options for the problem. They even consider assigning next instead of just a single topic. It's just a single assignment. So the number of choices is very limited. And when they go to the next topic, next assignment, they will see the option for those assignments. After that, we search for teachers like Mr. Chris who like to create content, like to create hint messages, and then and also very quick to fix their mistakes. We then contacted them with a consent. We promote them to what we call star teachers. Simply put, star teachers are teachers whose content are available to students both inside and outside of their classroom. So they became the new standard, so to say. Simply put, let's say we have 4 teachers and they created hint messages for some of the problems and for the purple teacher, all the problems. And with star teachers, their hints will be distributed to other teachers, students in other teachers' classes, but will not override the teacher's own content. So we, to answer the third question, we ran 2 RCTs. We called it the pilot RCT and the repeated randomized control trial in the fall and spring term of 2018-2019 academic term. The 2 conditions, the control is the curriculum's default, which is just the button that says show answer. And the experimental condition is the crowdsourced on-demand assistance, the TeacherASSIST. And the dependent measure is the performance of the student on the next problem. In this work, instead of doing a 50-50 split for the control versus the experimental condition, we did a 90% and 10% for the experimental and the control condition because first, we strongly believe that the crowdsourced assistant will be beneficial to students. And we want to help as many students as possible because, well, the goal of online learning platforms is to help student learning. And the second reason is the RCT that we are running on the platform level. And even with 10% of the students of the data, we will be able to get enough data to analyze the effectiveness of TeacherASSIST. The 4 dependent measures are whether the student answered the next problem correctly on their first try and whether they asked for help in the next problem. We also include the other 2 dependent variables, whether they give up and how many attempts they made on the next problem. We included them because we want to make sure that we didn't get positive result on the dependent measure we cared about because the student take 10 more attempts on average in the next problem. It didn't negatively impact something else. So in the pilot study, we get about 1,000 on-demand assistants created. And the result is that we get students are less likely to ask for help with the next problem. In other words, they are more likely to answer the next problem, work on the next problem until they get the answer without asking for additional instructions or assistance. And it doesn't negatively impact other measures. Students are a little bit more likely to answer the next problem correctly and slightly less attempt count, but the results are not significant. Then we repeated the same experiment in the spring term. We roughly about double the amount of on-demand assistance created, and the result is in the same direction. students are less likely to ask for help in the next problem, which means they are more likely to work on the next problem by themselves until they get the problem correctly without asking for additional assistance. And they don't, on average, didn't have more attempt count as well. So in conclusion, leisure question 1, we did create a TeacherASSIST, a crowdsourcing system inside assessment. And teachers are very happy to create all the hint messages for us, I mean, for their students. And as you can see by the number of hints and this explanation created. Second question. Well, yes, crowdsource on-demand systems are reliably more make the lesson more reliable, make the student more likely to answer the next problem correctly by themselves without additional assistance. While not reliable, the students are also more likely to answer the next problem on their first try and didn't cause them much of the attempt count. And it's also important to know that while the effects are very small, they are the effect of the intervention on a single problem. We ran the randomized control trial on a problem level, so it's expected to be small. And the third question is, well, yes, we get the same result when we repeated the randomized control trial on a different term after the novelty effect. So, and then we get slightly bigger magnitude in terms of result as well. And our code and data are publicly available. And thank you for listening.
Excellent. Thank you, March, for sharing that work. And I'm actually happy to share some things that have happened even since we actually published that paper. I want to tell you that well over 100 teachers have actually used the assessments TeacherASSIST feature that March created. Well over 30 have actually written more than 50 TeacherASSIST. That is on like 50 different problems that they chose. And actually at least 8 of them have written more than TeacherASSIST for over 500 problems. Essentially, March has built a feature that allowed us to find some other Chrysalis sieges, teachers that have willing to, on their own, for free, for their own kids, go use this feature and send hit messages and explanations to their kids. I'm super excited about that. I will tell you, we're not going to accept all of those teachers. We've taken their content and asked my content expert named Cindy Starks to kind of review their work. And she's like, we're going to accept about 80% of those teachers and put them and label them as star teachers. I personally have talked to the two creators who have created the most stuff. And it was really interesting to talk to these teachers and hear why they're excited about sharing kind of themselves in their homework. And I will tell you, in these COVID times, kids are feeling the lack of connection with their teacher. And so I'm super excited to hear from these teachers say, Neil, your system helps me communicate with my kids in a way that I couldn't otherwise do. And so the fact that we've had a 20-fold increase in the number of teachers during COVID times than we would otherwise expect. We now have something like 300,000 students who used assessments this year, makes us happy. And March's work has laid the groundwork to kind of crowdsource ideas, not just explanations and hints, but other things like answers to common wrong questions or feedback to commonly asked questions and other things that we want to crowdsource. So anyways, I thank you all for listening.